All right. So we've been doing a lot of real videos recently on code, and it's really good to do this because we're trying to learn all these different things, and it's a skill. So this video also, we're just gonna kind of learn a little bit about spirituality, right? Because the truth is, with AI, we always got what's it called? We always got like we always have like a good solid basis of calling things like what they are, giving like good language, giving good expressions to the code. And so now, what we wanted to do is we want to kind of have a focus. We want to have a little bit of spirituality, right? Because, like we say in the Torah, so the Rabbi Rashab, for example, he says, if you connected above, you will not fall down below, right? So we gotta be connected spiritually, and right, that's who I heard it. And if you guys how to say, apply this, it will be good, because we're always trying to we're always trying to be connected, and part of our life has to be spirituality, because we don't want to what's it called, we don't want to like lose hope, right? We need both. We need the material side, we need the spiritual side. All right, so בהיותו בימי קטנותו בא על דעתו לפרוש מהעולם. So this is talking about Rabbi Nachman, right? Rabbi Nachman is a big tzaddik. When he was a very young kid, he would be, my friend told me, Rabbi Nissim Kaufman, he said that when he was young, he was very, very young, and he was learning like a lot of Torah, right? So we could see from this child that he's so young, he was able to do so much, and so this is kind of talking about his life. When he was very young, he wanted to separate from worldly things. And he wanted to destroy the willingness to eat. But because he was young, he thought it would be impossible to forgo his regular meals. ונדמה לו שזה אי אפשר שיניח מאכילתו כפי מה שהיה רגיל לאכול בבוקר ובצהריים. Excuse me. And so, and he imagined שזה אי אפשר שיניח מאכילתו, that he won't be able to like leave his שניח מאכילתו כפי מה שהיה רגיל, what he was accustomed to do. על כן, ישב עצמו שיהיה בולע כל מה שיאכל. So he would swallow just without even chewing it. דהיינו שלא יהיה לועס מה שיאכל, רק יבלע כמו שהיו. In this way, he would not derive any pleasure from the food. רק שיבלע כמו שהיו. כדי שלא ירגיש שום טעם באכילתו. So this is talking about how young he was, sorry. ועשה כן ועלה נפיחות בצווארו. And he kept doing this until his throat was very swollen. שקוראים גשוולין. ואמר שהיה אז רק בן 6 שנים. When the Rebbe continued, he mentioned that he was only 6 times old. ואמר שהיה אז רק בן 6 שנים. He was only 6 years old. והנהגה זו שמעתי, we once heard from a that who swallowed without food churn, and this was quite very unique. והנהגה זו שמעתי לדבר גדול, מצדיק גדול מאוד, שנהג כך שהיה בועל אכילתו בלי לעיסה. Excuse me. אך הוא זיכרונו לברכה נהג כך בהיותו בן 6 שנים. However, the Rabbi Nachman did this very young. As a young child, the Rebbe wanted to literally fulfill the verse, I have set God before me constantly. גם בהיותו יושב לפני רבו, ללמוד, בימי קטנותו, היה רוצה תמיד לקיים, שביתה של הנגדי תמיד, והיה מתייגע לצייר נגד עיניו שם. And he continually tried to depict God's ineffable name before his eyes. While studying with his tutor, his thoughts were so occupied that he often did not know his lessons, making his teacher very angry. מתייגע לצייר נגד עיניו שם הוויה ברוך הוא, ומחמת שהייתה מחשבתו טרודה בזה לא היה יודע מה שלומד והיה רבו כועס עליו. So he's saying how he was studying with his master. He was always trying to picture and think about the God's name, and he's saying how like his teacher was so angry, like what, how come you're not listening or something like that, right? Because he was so occupied with thinking about God's name, he just wanted to have his name in front of him always. ואף על פי כן, כל ימי ילדותו היה עושה ענייני מעשה נערות הרבה. Despite this, the Rebbe acted like a normal child at his age, like a normal child his age, playing, jumping, and taking walks. He behaved this way constantly. ואף על פי כן, כל ימי ילדותו היה עושה ענייני מעשה נערות הרבה מאוד. Like a young child. מעשה נערות הרבה מאוד. דהיינו ענייני שחוק וקפיצות וטיול שקוראים פר שייט. Somebody knows what this means. And if you know, please write it down. Because this is like Yiddish. Far shite. והיה רגיל בזה מאוד. So he was still like a kid, but still he was very like, how to say, he was always like trying to like, what's it called? Connect with God. אחר כך, after this, נתגדל יותר וכשנעשה בר מצווה, oops, sorry guys, when he became bar mitzvah, when he was literally 13 years old, קרא אותו דודו הרב, his uncle called him, קרא אותו דודו הרב, הקדוש מורנו הרב אפרים, זכר צדיק לברכה, אב בית דין דקהילת קודש Sidilkov. He was literally the Av Beit Din. He was like he was the head judge. ואמר לו הפסוק אני היום ילדתיך. It says in the beginning of Psalms, second chapter, it says, what does it say? He goes like, uh, so, אספרה על חוק השם אמר אליי, בני אתה, אני היום לידתך, right? שאל ממני ועדנה גויים נחלתך, ואחוזתך בסרס, right? It says, I will speak about a law. Hashem, God said to me, today I have born you. I gave birth to you today. כי זה נאמר על היום שהאדם נעשה בר מצווה, כמובן בספרים. כמובן בספרים אמר לו קצת מעט דברי מוסר, והיה יקר בעיניו מאוד מאוד, כמוצא שלל רב. So this verse speaks, today I've begotten you. So when he came to his uncle, he said to him, today I've begotten you. What it says in the Psalms. This verse speaks of the day a person becomes a bar mitzvah. As it is discussed in the Holy Literature, his uncle spoke to him briefly regarding religious devotion, and these words were dear to the Rebbe, as if he found a great treasure. ואמר לו קצת מעט דברי מוסר, והיה יקר בעיני מאוד מאוד. Okay, כמוצא שלל רב. Like he found a great treasure. So when he was very young, he was like, wow, this is very amazing. אחר כך נכנס לחופה. Soon after this, he got married. ותכף ביציאתו מן החופה היה מתלהב מאוד ומתגעגע מאוד לעבודת השם יתברך, ונכנס בעבודת השם מיום אל יום. And soon he got married after this. Immediately after the wedding, Immediately after the wedding, he burned with enthusiasm, deeply yearning to serve God. Day by day, he moved further and further along his path of devotion. ותכף, immediately, ביציאתו מן החופה, when he left the wedding, היה מתלהב מאוד מאוד. Like he was burning מתגעגע מאוד לעבודת השם. He was burning with the happiness and great will with in the service of God. נכנס בעבודת השם מיום אל יום. גם בימי קטנותו התחיל להתמיד מאוד מאוד בלימודו. והיה משלם להמלמד מכיסו 3 גדולים סוג מטבע. להמלמד מכיסו 3 גדולים סוג. He would pay his tutor 3 silver coins out of his own pocket for each page of Gemara taught. So he was literally paying his teacher for lessons. This was in addition to the regular tuition paid by his father. The Rebbe would add his own bonus for each page. So his tutor would exert himself to teach him many pages each day. The Rebbe plan succeeded, and his tutor taught him a considerable amount every day, collecting 3 coins for each page. This was the way the Rebbe served God. All his devotion was concealed to such an extent that not a single person knew about it. He kept everything well hidden, cloaked in great secrecy. Very interesting. At first, the Rebbe's way of serving God was one of extreme simplicity. He did not resort to any sophistication, but walked a very uncomplicated path. When the Rebbe was involved in his devotions, he did everything with great strength and effort. No form of devotion came easily, And the Rebbe literally had to lay down his life in many cases. Each thing required tremendous effort. When there was, and the Rebbe literally had to lay down his life in many cases. Each thing required tremendous effort. And he had to work hard each time he wanted to do something to serve God. He had thousands upon thousands of up and downs. So the most difficult thing was to serve God and accept the yoke of true devotion. Each time he would begin, he would find himself falling. And he would then begin anew and stumble yet another time. This occurred countless times over and over again. Finally, the Rebbe resolved to stand fast and maintain his foothold, without paying attention to anything else in the world. From then on, his heart was firm in its devotion to God. But even so, he went up and down many times. By then, however, he was determined never to abandon his devotion, no matter how many times he fell. No matter what happened, he remained devoted to God to the very best of his ability. The Rebbe became accustomed to constantly begin anew. Whenever he would fall from his particular level, he did not give up. He would simply say, I will act as if I'm just beginning to devote myself to God. And this is the very first time. This happened time and again, and each time he would start all over again. He would often begin anew many times in a single day. For even in the course of a day, there were many times when he would fall away from his high level of devotion. But each time he would start again, no matter how many times it happened. Even within a single day, the Rebbe's devoted every available moment to his sacred study. He spent much time studying Talmud and Shulchan Aruch, the Bible, the Ein Yaakov, and the mystical books of the Zohar, the Tikkunei Zohar, and the writings of the Holy Ari. He also delved into many other sacred works, especially those involving Musar, which is, like discipline. The Rebbe said that his father's library contained all the small Musar books, and that he went through every one. And he also spent much time with the Reshit Chochmah, stating that he reread this remarkable work countless times. The Rebbe's unique expertise in all the literature was obvious. He was particularly unique in his knowledge of the Bible, the Ein Yaakov, and the Ari's writings, and the Zohar and the Tikkunei Zohar, to the point that literally no one could be compared to him. He was fluent in the entire Torah. He could quote anything in the sacred literature, as if the book was opened right in front of him. It was like a table set before him, and he could see everything and chose what he desired. The entire scope of our sacred literature was like this, standing ready before him, before his mind's eye, to be used whenever he desired. This can be seen to some extent in the Rebbe's writings. The Rebbe told us that all his studies required great effort. When he began to learn Mishnah as a young child, he did not understand it. He wept and wept until he was able to understand the Mishnah. Later he studied more advanced books. He again found himself unable to comprehend them. Again he cried bitterly until he was worth understanding. This was true even such esoteric studies as the Zohar and the Ari and the writings of the Ari. Understanding only came after a long bitter weeping. He said that when he began to study any work, he did not understand it. It was very difficult for him, and he could not grasp its straightforward meaning. This greatly distressed him. His studies required prodigious effort, but nevertheless he studied a lot by constantly encouraging himself. He achieved it through his great prayer and weeping. The Rebbe engaged in many fasts. Even while in his teens, he fasted from Shabbat to Shabbat many times. There were occasions when he fasted from Shabbat to Shabbat twice in succession. Although the Rebbe was a child of delights, raised in comfort, he was very thin. He would disregard himself completely, fasting and mortifying himself in every possible way. Once he fasted from Shabbat to Shabbat 18 times in a single year. The main way Rabbi attained what he did was simply through prayer and supplication before God. This was consistent he was very consistent in this. He would beg and plead in every possible way, asking God to have mercy and make him worthy of true devotion and closeness. What helped him most were his prayers in the language he usually spoke, which was Yiddish. He would find a secluded place and set it aside to express his thoughts to God. Speaking in his own language, he would beg and plead before God. He would make use of all sorts of arguments and logic, crying that it was fitting that God draw him close and help him in his devotion. He kept this constantly, spending days and years engaged in such prayer. His father's house had a small garret that was partitioned off as a storehouse for hay and feed. Here he would hide himself, chanting the Psalms and screaming quietly, begging God to make him worthy of drawing close to him. Besides this, the Rebbe made use of every published prayer he could find. He went through all the books of prayers available, and there was not a prayer that he did not repeat countless times. He recited them all. The Psalms, the Sha'arei Tzion, the prayers printed in the large Sidurim. He poured out his heart in every possible prayer and supplication, even those printed in Yiddish words for women. Not a single one was omitted. The Rebbe also had the custom of reciting all the supplications following each day's ma'amadot. He would say the prayers for all the 7 days of the week at one time. He also had the practice of chanting only the verses in the prayers that speak of prayer and the cry to God. He would go through the entire book of Psalms in one stretch, saying only these verses and leaving out the rest. Beyond all this, the main thing was his own prayers emanating from his heart in his own language. He would pray and argue before God, making up petitions and arguments as he went along. He would beg and plead that God make him worthy of true devotion. Prayers such as these helped the Rebbe achieve his greatness. We heard this exclusively from the Rebbe's own holy lips. Alright, guys. To be continued.